Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of my brand new podcast, Nostalgia and Nonsense. I'm Tylah Hill and I'm so excited to finally be recording this. I know it feels like everyone and their dog is launching a podcast these days, but I've been toying with this idea for literally years. So I promise you it'll be something a little bit different and a whole lot of fun. You might be wondering what you can expect from each episode, so here's the deal. Basically, each week I'll be taking you on a nostalgic trip down memory lane. We'll explore old school video games, remember favourite childhood toys and TV shows, and really delve into those unforgettable moments that made growing up in the early 2000s, especially in Australia, so unique. So expect some laughs, reflection, and unlocking of memories, and maybe even a few surprises along the way. I'll also be diving into a whole lot of nonsense, just like the name suggests, so talking about some of my own hilarious and sometimes embarrassing childhood memories that still haunt me today. And some of them I'm not really entirely proud of, but I guess that's kind of what makes them memorable, right? And don't worry guys, because I'll be keeping things light and entertaining, just like we're besties chilling on a beanbag and chatting while we're playing our DS, or just like we're riding our push bikes after school down the street. You know, that kind of vibe. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday, so whether you'll be popping in some headphones and doing some housework, or queuing me up for your morning commute, get ready for some throwback fun right here at the same time every single week. Alright, enough with the introductions, let's get into today's episode. I've got a huge disgusting confession coming up later, but first, we need to talk about something that still stings me today. Let's unpack a memorable fiasco of when the Wii Fit called me fat. Welcome to Nostalgia and Nonsense. Let's hit rewind. Alright, to kick things off, let's set the stage. It's 2008 and Nintendo just launched the Wii Fit in Australia. And when you think about it, back then, this technology was kind of mind-blowing. I still think the concept of the Wii with the motion sensing controllers and the nunchucks and all the really interactive games, it was kind of super revolutionary and crazy at the time. And also, when I think about it, a lot of the games, you could really play with the family. It was one of the first times that games actually started existing where you could play with your entire family and sit in the lounge room or stand up in the lounge room and actually play around and have a good time. When you think about it, before Wii Fit, exercise games were kind of just jumping around and flailing your arms around, so it wasn't as groundbreaking as the Wii Fit. I remember iToy, super fun games to play on there, especially the window washing game. That was my childhood, but you could easily cheat and go close up to the camera and just jump around is basically the aim of the game. So I think Wii and the Wii games were a lot more interactive and really took those kind of games to the next step. My personal favorite game in Wii Fit was the soccer heading game. So you had to headbutt the soccer balls and dodge the boots that would come flying at you. It was so silly, but kind of oddly satisfying, but I could literally sit there and play for hours just dodging soccer balls. And then, of course, Wii Fit also had a lot of other games and activities. There was the bowling, there was the hula hooping, the step aerobics. There was a lot of different games that you could play. I also loved the running around and exploring. You just jog around and it's just I'm outside jogging. Not really, but it was pretty fun. There's also the ski jumping. I loved that one. And one of my favorite as well was kind of a really zen experience. You kind of just sitting there and looking at a candle. I loved that one. So relaxing. For those of you who might not remember, the Wii Fit was basically a fitness game, and it also came with a nifty little accessory called the balance board. You could buy the pack, which would have the game and the balance board, or you could also just buy the game by itself, but it has the big message on the front that says, you need a bounce board to play this game. Basically, a bounce board is just a white rectangular board with built-in sensors designed to measure your weight, your bounce, and even your body mass index or your BMI. And let me tell you, as a kid, it was quite crazy measuring yourself on the Wii Fit because it would categorize you into 3 or 4 categories. It would have underweight, normal, overweight, and even had obese. And at the time, I remember being a skinny legend. So when I would jump on the Wii Fit, a lot of the time it would call me overweight. Like, can you believe I'm a skinny child? I'm just a bit taller than for my age, but it would call me overweight because of it. So that had quite a dent on my self-confidence. When it would measure you as well, it would have different sounds depending on what your weight was. And let me tell you, they weren't very positive sounds. It was quite daunting. And it would also make your me character blow up basically after it would measure you. So you get measured, it will play the bad, drastic sound, and then you just watch your character on screen blow up like a balloon. Oh, can you believe? This is insane. Like, no wonder people are insecure of their weight. This piece of plastic was telling me that I was overweight, and I literally was not. Crazy. Like, a guy literally had to sit there and design these sounds. Like, they put thought into this. Now, for a quick science lesson, BMI or body mass index is calculated by dividing your weight in kilograms by your height in meters squared. So it's basically a measurement and doesn't really take into account a lot of other things like your body fat percentage and your muscle mass or your bone densities. So it's kind of just a number, weight divided by height squared. So even though I was a little skinny legend, my weight on the plastic balance board was overweight. You've also got to remember that the Wii Fit was developed in Japan, so people in Japan usually have smaller builds and a lot shorter compared to people with Western standards. So although that the Japanese packaging states that it was designed to support weighing of 136 kilograms, in the Western world, like in Australia, the balance board actually said you could support 150 kilograms. So even though that they both had different packaging and kilogram ratings on it, they were literally the exact same balance board. They're identical products, it was just a different number on the packaging. Crazy, right? I kind of wonder though if anyone actually lost weight or took the Wii Fit super seriously and, tried to go on like a boot camp, because I wonder if it worked out for them. I guess regardless, there were a lot of actual benefits to the Wii Fit. Like, it encouraged me to be more active and it was quite fun and did bring families and people together. So I guess there are some positives to it, but I just think it was crazy how many times that it would call me fat. And I have to say the soccer boot dodging game was pretty fun and oddly satisfying. It's kind of weird thinking about a video game body shaming you though, isn't it? Like, there I was getting my self-esteem taken down a notch by a plastic board. Speaking of Wii games, I want to know what your favorite Wii game was. There was a lot that I used to play. I think there was even like a firefighting one or a CSI one that I used to play. And, it was quite dramatic, me being a child playing these dark games, you never know. But I want to know what you guys' favorite Wii game is. Mario Kart was obviously a classic, but is there any more rare ones or ones that people don't really talk about that you'd like to bring to my attention? Just jump over to my Instagram and leave me a voice note or DM there, and you might be featured in the podcast. It's time for the Memories Unlocked part of the episode. This is the part of the episode where we get your submissions and I bring the nostalgia and joy and maybe even a few tears to you. So today we're going to go to the spotlight. First up, we have Mon. She said that the TV show Boo was one of her favorites and no one ever seems to remember that show. So it makes her feel super happy that there's other people that also remember it. I love that, Mon. Literally is part of the reason on why I make like this podcast and some of my content is just to validate people's feelings and like, yes, you should remember this because it was an iconic show and you are valid. And yeah, I love when people actually remember things because so many times I talk to people, I'm like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? And they're like, no. And I just feel so invalid and like I'm going crazy and like it didn't exist. So thank you, Mon, for your submission. Next up, Mint Pearl says that ABC3, which is the TV channel in Australia where it had lots of iconic TV shows, it actually launched on her birthday. How awesome is that? She said that 3 is her favorite number as a kid, so it felt like a launch party just for her. That's so iconic, especially because literally the Prime Minister at the time, Kevin Rudd, like opened the channel and pressed the big remote. So, You must have felt so special, and like that's so awesome that your birthday fell on the exact same day as the ABC3 channel launch. Thank you so much for your submission. If you guys want to submit your own, make sure you jump over to my Instagram at Tylah Hill. You can leave me a voice note there, or just slide into my DMs and let me know a memory that you've recently unlocked. And that's the memory unlock section of the pod. All right, now let's get into some nonsense because I have a story that is truly gross, but I think it's time to finally get it off my chest. I think this happened when I was about 9 or 11, and I've never really spoken about it, so it's time to let it all out and share with you guys on the very first episode of this pod. When I was a kid, there was kind of like that changeover period where your mum used to cut your fingernails for you, but then all of a sudden you're cutting your own fingernails. And this was kind of the time where I was cutting my own fingernails, and I was just like sitting on my bed one day, as you do. Also, my fingernails grow so freaking fast. I don't know why, but like I swear I have to cut my fingernails every single week. What is wrong with me? And like, I thought like keratin is the same thing as your hair. So why is my fingernails growing like crazy, but my hair is literally balding? Please explain. Anyway, while I was sitting on my bed, my sister walked in. I was just cutting my nails away. It's probably gross to do it inside, actually. I think most people cut their nails outside, but, you know, I had a method to the madness. My sister was older than me as well, so I don't know if this was something that she genuinely believed or if she was just messing with me, because she didn't really mess around with me or be like a bully as a sibling, so maybe she also believed this as well. But she told me while I was cutting my fingernails that if I cut them and save them and then put them in the sun, because of the compounds inside the fingernails, when they're exposed to the sun, they actually disintegrate. So, what did 9 or 10 or 11-year-old me do? I collected all my fingernails up, I cut them all up, and I put them on my windowsill in my bedroom. I didn't even put them outside in the sun. I wanted to keep them on my windowsill. So I think I got like a milk carton lid, like the lid from the 3-liter milk. Yeah, so mum, that's where all the 3-liter milk lids were going. I was actually saving them, scouring them out of the bin just for my fingernail collection. So yeah, so I put the 3-liter milk lid upside down, sit it on my windowsill, and then I put all my little fingernails in there. Every time I cut my fingernails, I'd pop them in there and sit it up there and wait for it to turn to dust. After like 11 months, I had a little cleanup of my room, and I thought, oh, let me check on my fingernail collection. I actually would check it like daily, weekly. Like I would be checking those fingernails all the time. For a little while, I forgot about it, and I cleaned my room. Almost a year later, and the fingernails had disappeared. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fingernails don't just disintegrate in the sun. And you're probably right. My mum probably cleaned my room before me or something and got rid of them. I might have knocked them down on the ground and didn't realize. Like, I don't actually know what happened to them. But let me tell you, after 11 months, they weren't there. I promise you. Leaving my fingernails on my windowsill for 11 months probably sounds gross, and you're probably right. But it was a science experiment, okay? Also, like, when you think about it, has anyone ever swallowed, like, a fingernail? Like, surely, I don't know, maybe someone's biting your nails and you swallow a fingernail. Surely someone in the world has swallowed a fingernail. And the crazy thing is that even, like, our stomachs won't break down the keratin in the fingernails. So you literally just poop out fingernails, literally in your poop. How gross is that? And like hair is made of keratin as well. So people that like chew on their hair or to get hair in their mouth, like that hair is coming out in your poop as well, surely. Ugh, that's disgusting. But there you have it. That's my fingernail dust story. So if you have another gross story that you did as a kid, or if you were told something as a child and it took you on a huge, scientific journey, just like mine did, let me know. DM me on Instagram at Tylah Hill. and we can have a chat about it. You can also send me a voice note as well, and you might be featured in the podcast. Who knows? And that's a wrap of the very first episode of my Nostalgia and Nonsense podcast. But before we wrap up, I just want to thank you so much for joining me on the very first episode. Make sure you click review or follow the podcast. Make sure you save it so that when the next episode comes out on Tuesdays, you get notified, and make sure you come back and check along. Your support to me means the world, so I can't wait to share more nostalgia and stories and confessions with you in the future. And if you want to get involved and share your own memories or just keep up to date with what's happening on the pod, make sure you follow my Instagram at Tylah Hill. You can also send me voice notes on there for your chance to be featured in the pod. And for those of you that really, really want to support the show even further, make sure you join over on my Patreon community. It's called Internet Island. So basically you get access to all of my content, and you get, like exclusive things, exclusive behind the scenes. You also get a discount for my website Off Your Chops. So apparel and drinking game or party game on there, you can get a discount of that when you join the Patreon. And really, you just be helping me keep this pod alive. Make sure you join me on Tuesday next week as we dive into another blast from the past and another story. This one is about me being caught naked. So until then, stay nostalgic and keep those memories alive. Thanks for joining. Ciao. Bye. Bonjour. I think bonjour's hello, isn't it? Whoops.